So we continue where we left off as Simon is facing against the masked man. As the battle continues between these two, we also focus on the situation with Ozma as he's fighting against Yobako. And this time Ozma was able enough to go ahead and put some defense in his artillery motives to go ahead and fight. So things are going down in this chapter of Choujin X, part 1 of chapter 30. Simon goes ahead and counters the masked man's attack after he learned during the course of the battle that the masked man stole the abilities of one of his clan's members that died a few years ago, which illustrated that the masked man has the ability to steal Choujin powers, because we started off with the chapter by stating that Choujin has a vicious obsession of their abilities, such as love, pride, anger, hatred, grief, and pleasure. A Choujin who steals powers from another Choujin takes on the infatuation that they are based on their abilities to create a new obsession. And there throughout the chapter, we see that the masked man, how his fist or his hand is literally stitched into an arm, which the arm has the tattoo of the sword, which is part of the tradition of the sword Choujin's members or clan that Simon's in. So during the course of the battle, Simon is figuring out that this guy who has the ability to master and summon these swords actually died. So which means that this is not him, because even though he is using this technique and everything else, there's a difference and it doesn't seem like this guy. So of course he stole it. But even though he stole the power, he was able to outclass and outdo Simon's own ability. And Simon's in shock, but Simon's not giving up. So Simon goes ahead towards the masked man and he does his rebone attack, where the sword makes a circle and cut the masked man in half, but half of the masked man's body that's in the air starts to form into moths, as Simon is in shock because he's just like, these are butterflies? No, moths. So he has another ability as well. So then he goes ahead and tries to prepare himself to heal himself. So Simon tries to go ahead and take a swing at him by using one of his swords to cut the head off of the masked man, but suddenly a whole bunch of moths starts to form. And then Simon realized that he's been in a trap and he has been poisoned or hallucinating because of the effects of the moths. And this was the first time that the masked man was able to use that ability, because he was just like, wow, this is my first time actually using hallucination poison. So while Simon is on the ground because he can't move because he's poisoned, the masked man is walking towards him and he's getting closer and closer. And he tells Simon that, hey, that reborn sword that you have is a nice piece for my collection that I'm collecting. But I cannot be greedy right now because as of this time, I don't have enough time. But the next time I see you, yeah, your Choujin power is mine. So you better keep hold of that, because eventually I will have plenty of time. But as of right now, so I gotta go. So we focus on Ozma as he is finally free from this zombie Yobako person, because all of her head seems like to have different personalities, because we saw that the last chapter how he got brutally broken, like his limbs got broken and her head started ripping pieces of his skin and started eating him. But luckily Ozma was able to break free, and you can just see multiple of Yobako's head had like different personalities. Some of them, they did not like how Ozma tasted, and the other ones, they wanted more, or some of them even just seems to be bored. So Ozma realized that, yeah, my body is very unprotected, and with this fight I need to protect myself, so I gotta go onto the defense. So then he changed his body into a suit of armor, and Ozma strictly looks like a knight, like for the medieval times. And so as Yobako, she is just like heavily impressed. She's just like, wow, you look like you're in heavy duty, because now since Ozma's not like exposed, because we all see that his Choujin powers when he's in his cloak form, all it is just a cloak on his head and pants and just chain shackles. So he has no body armor at all, but now he has body armor, and now he's ready to go ahead and battle against Yobako. And they both go head to head, and Azuma has the upper hand. Azuma is able to cut her into pieces, but of course, Yobako, since she has that Choujin ability where she's able to grow pieces of her limbs out of nowhere, she'll be fine. So Azuma, he's impressed and he's checking out all the situation of his body, and he says, I can fight like this, because now that he sees that he's very protective, now he can go ahead and go all out. So Yobako, she's loving this, and then she's just like, oh, just because you think that you got the upper hand because you did your little training, you think that you'll win this fight, but no. So then Yobako goes ahead and she morphs into this weird twisted being, and it's just very, very weird, and it's called a Nirvana Yobako, as she's just transformed her body into this monstrous form, and then she goes ahead and takes off. Goes straight at to Azuma, beating him and having pieces of his armor be broken because the amount of power that she has gained. Because Yobako went to her Chaos mode, which is a Choujin Berserk state, which gains another abilities and power, but at the same time, you will lose your sense and your abilities of your own personality. Even some Choujins, when they go into the Berserk mode, they stay there forever. They never come back. So this is very, very dangerous, because with that ability, even though you get a power up, you still won't gain a sense to yourself. And even if you do, it's going to be taking a while. Some, they don't even go back to their own personality at all. They just stay in that Berserk form. So, of course, Choujins like Yobako, who is willing to keep the pierced into the depths, are Choujin chaotic. They grow to find the abyss and lose into themselves and their humanities, even if she shed it fully. Perhaps because they lost their humanities, and some have even claimed to be God. So it's kind of showcasing that Yobako, she's at this point where she stays at the chaos state, and that it just happens willingly, unlike certain situations like how Tokyo, when he was fighting against Azuma for the first time, and it was Choujin against Choujin. But it seems like, Yobako, she's willing to go to the Choujin chaos form, and she's willing enough to like go ahead and do it multiple times, and it looks like she seems to be aware of it. But other than that, the chapter ends as we see Azuma, and he says that I'm going to kill you, and it seems like he's about to go into his chaos state. And then we see the Smoke Choujin as he's looking like he's trying to find Tokyo, or it looks like it's illustrating that the next fight we're going to be focusing on is Tokyo and the Smoke Man. But other than that, this is part 1 of chapter 30. So if you guys do like the video, please give it a like, subscribe, and remember, always be decent. This is the Manto Man. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Be safe, and remember, always be decent, and let me know down in the comment section how you guys think about this chapter. All right, peace.